not about that. I was just okay. Okay, so as I had mentioned last week we did not had the session because we are just two of us and people were traveling and all that. What I wanted to focus on is on those aspects of car buying and maintenance, which is not really talked about while buying the car. We will look at how much does it cost, how big the car is, what's the music system in that car, and how fast it goes, how much load it pulls. All of that we talk. But we hardly ask the salesman or the dealer as to what is the service cost of that car. How frequently should I have to service this car? And any of those things. I know that nowadays everything has become quite standardized. All cars come with a certain period of intervals, service cycle, service intervals, which is pretty standard nowadays. But it was not the case a while earlier. Okay, some cars were really reliable and some cars were not. So those cars which were highly reliable used to have a longer service interval period. Even in the world, there are certain cars which takes a longer service interval period before it goes into a service. Okay, and this is one item which is just not talked about at all. So I know Prashant drives Honda City. You drive any car, Abhilash and Sandhya?
No, not yet.
Okay, so you know of any popular cars?
We know names, but we don't know anything beyond that.
Good, not a problem. See, any of these cars, Hyundai, Maruti, Honda, Ford, any of these cars, they are all coming. After the after the free service intervals that they give, which is 3. First one happens under 1,000 kilometers or 2 months, whichever is earlier. The second one mostly happens at before 6 months and 5,000 kilometers. And after that, it is within 1 year and maybe like 10,000 kilometers, something like that. This is a standard free service that they do once they sell the car. Okay. The question comes as how frequently you have to get it done after this period is over. So Prashant, how frequently do you take your car for service?
I take it once in 6 months. My schedule is March and September.
Once in 6 months. Okay.
That's what for the automatic car, that's what they recommend, once in 6 months. So, but I don't take it to the Honda showroom. I take it to a multi-brand one.
Got it. And what is the service cost? The fixed cost that they have without consumables.
Around 6,000, 6,500.
6 to 6,500. This is not how much you pay. This is their prescribed amount, right?
That's how much I pay.
Okay. So the prescribed amount will be like 3,500 to 4,000 rupees.
Yeah.
Rest is all the consumables. Okay. So this is like standard, whatever you're saying. In fact, you go for Hyundai, every 6 months you'll get a call saying that your car is due for service.
Yeah, I get SMSs also. And what happens is all the Honda service centers in the vicinity, they'll figure out your phone number and they'll call.
Yeah, that's pretty common. Okay. And what do they actually do every time you take your car for service every 6 months?
Okay. One thing I notice is they clean the car. better than we do on a daily basis. But I think there is this, like I think once in three services they change the oil. Once in a year they do the wheel alignment. Um, and I think every once in 30,000 kilometers, if I'm not mistaken, they check the battery and they start giving you hints that one more service from now your battery should change.
Yeah.
And 40,000 kilometers plus is when they start marketing for changing the tires. I am closing on 50,000 now. Once I had to change the brake pads also.
Got it. I think you have got everything on dot, man. I mean, it's a disgrace if whenever you say that you don't know about cars.
Achha, okay.
I think you know everything about your maintenance. That's exactly how it happens. Mostly, they change the oil. They check that first of all they have to check the oil quality and then they change it. Okay, every time they check, there is a certain way of checking the oil quality. When they drain the complete oil, yeah, they change the oil. They also change the air filter. They check the spark plugs every time. In diesel cars, they don't check the spark plugs. Why?
Is it not because is the combustion not? I mean, that's also a spark plug based thing, no?
No,
Engine?
it doesn't have spark plugs. Diesel engine
don't
has
have.
spark plugs. Only petrol engines have spark plugs.
Then how does it spark?
Just out of sheer compression, the amount of heat generated is so much that the diesel ignites.
I see.
You compress it so much that the heat generated is sufficient to ignite the diesel. In petrol also you can do that, but petrol will start its combustion at a lesser combustion itself. Even if it's not even combusted, the heat generated, the petrol is so volatile that it starts firing. So that's why they have.
So that means that petrol shouldn't have had spark plug also, no?
Petrol has spark plugs because if you have the same technology as in diesel engine for petrol engine, if they wait for the entire combustion to happen, the petrol will not wait till the complete combustion to happen, complete compression to happen. Before that itself, it will start combustion. Like you just press half of it, and that heat is sufficient for the petrol to catch fire. Okay. So that is why they will wait for the complete compression to happen, and then they will ignite. At a certain timing they ignite the fuel.
I see.
Okay. So whatever. So given that the spark plugs are checked, and then coming back to the spark plug, the amount of compression in petrol engine is less. Okay. So I told the wrong way. Okay. The amount of compression is way lesser than diesel engine. That is why the amount of compression needed for the petrol to catch fire is not sufficient. Okay. The heat is not so much generated when it gets compressed. That's why they have an external arc spark to ignite fire. But in diesel engine, it's not so. They compress it for a very high compression ratio. That's why it's done that way. So coming back to the maintenance, oil change, air filter change,
air filter, yeah,
air filter change, and spark plug checking. And as you said, they will also check for the charge in the battery. And they also check for something called brake fluids. Okay, they check for the brake fluids. Once in every 10,000 kilometers, the brake fluids have to be changed. And every 10,000 kilometers, the oil has to be drained completely and has to be put in. And if you're, I mean, that is that is an expensive, item to do. All of our cars can hold about 4.5 liters of engine oil. And this costs about 500 to 700 rupees per liter of engine oil. So you need to ensure, I mean, when you go to any of your dealers, they will completely drain it off. So that's what you will be clear about, that they have done it. You just trust them. But if you go to a local dealer, like the way you are talking, that the way you take to a service station, unless you know that person for sure, like if he is not your friend, I would like to stand there until he drains the complete engine oil, and then fill up a new oil and top it up. There are chances that they would not completely drain out. They will drain only half of it and then just top it up. And then they will say that they have still filled up 4.5 liters. And they will be charged for that. You don't know whether they have done it or not until you open it. Okay. So that is one thing. Brake fluids is another one. Brake shoes, yes, that you need to check again. And also tires, the threads in the tires have to be checked. There is a certain way of checking the threads in the tire. As you said, it's right, 50,000 kilometers. You need to change that. But there are some cars like Skoda. Okay, when they were launched, they were going for 20,000 kilometers per interval. That means for 2 years you don't service your car. And the best part of it, or their dumbness, or I don't know, they were not even marketing that. People didn't even know that their car was coming for service only after 2 years. While we will be coughing up 4,000 rupees every 6 months. Okay. Now, to compete with the Indian market and to reduce the cost, they have also got into this 10,000 kilometers business. But their cars were that reliable. Even now, if you have a Volvo, 2 years straight, you don't have to service your car. Most of the German cars also used to be that way, but not anymore. At least in Indian market, they have changed, the strategies. Yeah. So that is one thing that I just wanted to talk about in today's session and leave you with, so that you ask that question as to what is the service interval of the car and how much does a standard service cost. There was a time when Maruti 800 standard service was 800 rupees. That was like 25 years ago. Yeah. Now a standard service itself is 4,000 rupees.
Yeah. So you were saying, I think that's in some session you were saying that wheel balancing and wheel alignment need not be done so many times.
Okay. That we were just chatting in the last meeting. Okay. Especially wheel balancing and wheel alignment, you do not have to go with the prescribed way. I actually don't get any of my cars and bikes serviced by the prescribed 5,000 kilometers or 10,000 kilometers, even for the car, even for the wheels or any of them. Whenever I'm driving, I will get to know what is missing or what goes wrong. Only then I go for my service. My Hyundai, I have not serviced in the last 1.5 to 2 years, close. Okay. From the time the pandemic started, I have not got it serviced. I have hardly used, and I have been fairly switching on the car once a while, so it should be fine. So,
So what my indicator for my indicator for the alignment is this. If I'm coming back from Arohi, for example, and I'm on nice road, so somewhere where the road is empty and I keep the gas, the pedal so that the car is moving around at 80 to 100 kilometers. So I adjust the steering and I leave it. And if I notice the car is drifting towards any direction, then I know there's something off. So the next service, I them to get it aligned.
Perfect.
So that's a good one. Okay.
That is the best way and the most effective way of knowing whether wheel alignment is needed or not. So you are on dot on that as well. However, I would not want to simply trust on the alignment that is done in the workshop. I would like to take it to like what Vijay wheel alignments and get it done myself. So I'll clearly get to know, and they'll do it with about 3/4 of the cost that the dealer will, will levy on you.
And they have this nice panels where they tell you the angles and the deltas.
You will get to know everything. It will about half an hour to 45 minutes it takes, and I will get it done there. And this is wheel alignment. There's something called another one called wheel balancing. So when do we do wheel balancing? Every time you change your tires on any of the wheels, you need to do a wheel balancing. Typically, earlier when we did not have tubeless tires, when all the tires used to come with tubes, and every time it goes for a puncture, it is mandatory as per process that you need to do a wheel balancing, because every time the tire is removed and it is moved around, and the neck of the wheel will move in different places. Okay, and because of which that was needed, but we were not doing it. I mean, at least I have not done it to that much extent, but it becomes more important for high performance cars to have wheel balancing done very critically, because that will actually impact the axle, and sometimes you can also feel a kind of a vibration on the steering wheel. So both of these you may want to do it by yourself. One is it's cheap. Another one, you can do it at your own comfort and at whatever interval you feel that it's needed.
See, and they also do this. This guy, this local multi-brand service guy, I think the September service cycle, he just exchanges the front wheels to the rear and rear to the front.
Yeah.
So that's one. But the March cycle, what he does is he actually takes the tire out of the wheel frame and then fits it in the reverse way. Like for example, so it's like
both
you have the.
He put it in the back, and back wheels he put it in the front. That's what
that is what he does in September. But March, May, what he does is he takes let's say if this is the wheel rim, he actually takes the wheel out of the rim. And then he attaches it from the other side like this. What his thing is, like while you're turning, only one edge of the tire will he says that it will be beneficial to keep flipping the tire around the wheel frame itself.
Probably that again depends on the tires. Car tires, I think it could be done that way. Because always tires come with a certain direction of rotation. It has to rotate like this. If you take it out and put it out like this, it is not advisable to rotate in the opposite direction now. It is supposed to rotate like this. For that purpose, what you can do is that not really take the wheel out and reverse it and put it. Okay, I would not advise that. Rather, take this wheel, put it here, this wheel, put it at the back. You rotate the wheels.
Wheels itself.
Okay, that is still a better strategy than that.
I see.
The right side wheel, if it goes on left side,
same thing.
It's the same thing, right? Yeah. So in auto rickshaws, it's a standard. They keep rotating all the three wheels. Yeah.
Sweet. So the maintenance thing you are telling, right? Like let's say someone buys a car and he may not be using it regularly. Maybe he's using it maybe 3 months, 4 months once to go somewhere. Otherwise, he's simply using his two-wheeler maybe.
Yeah.
So I heard some people telling that you should not keep the car idle. It might get spoiled or something like that. So
Yeah.
what is that? What is that logic?
It's only to keep the machine moving, because it's all full of moving parts and it's all steel. And at any point of time, some amount of corrosion can creep in. That is one thing. The other thing is that there will be a lot of grease in a lot of places, and that can get really thick. And your first ride will become a little bumpy because of that. And the most important reason why you need to keep your car once a while starting is so that your batteries should not get completely discharged. Okay, if you are of the kind who would not want to use the car for a month at a stretch, and you are sure of that, okay, you have two leads which are connecting to the batteries, positive and negative. Remove both of them and just keep it aside, or even one of them and just keep it aside. Okay, so that the discharging will not happen. Okay, whenever you want, put it back and you crank the vehicle, it will start. At least the discharge will not happen. If you are keeping the circuit intact of your battery, it is better at least once in a week, just crank it once, or at least once in 2 weeks, crank it once, keep it in idle, don't move the car at all, keep it in idle for 10-15 minutes and switch it off and go in. It's always better if you are cranked in, just move the car just about a foot ahead and another foot backwards. Just do that. That is good for the wheels. Otherwise, the wheels is constantly, the bottom part of the wheel is the only thing which has always been filling the weight, and that part would have gotten flattened, and the rest of the wheel is still circular. That's not good for the rubber. You can start seeing cracks in some places. So move a little, like move even about half a feet, the flat part will get changed, and again next week pull it back.
Okay.
So the rubber is still intact.
Okay.
Besides this, it's all okay. Rest of everything you can manage.
And I don't know if you guys discussed this before meetings, but what is the difference between this diesel and petrol cars? Like why there is someone preferring diesel, someone preferring petrol? What is the point there?
Okay, yeah, we had discussed this. Diesel and petrol car, and okay, are you asking when should I go for a diesel car, when should I go for a petrol car?
What is the criteria? Like, does any car make is fine, or does it depend on someone's preference, or what are the criteria when you look for a car, whether it should be a diesel or a petrol?
See, there used to be a huge difference earlier that when people who are into too much of driving volumes per week and per month, they would prefer diesel car, because in India we had a huge subsidy on diesel, and that used to work out. But at the same time, maintaining a diesel car is also more expensive than a petrol car because of the heavy vibrations that the car is being induced, because the diesel, as I was saying, the compression ratio is very high, right? The diesel engine itself is it vibrates a lot. Like when you switch on, when you switch off a petrol car, you don't even know that the car got switched off. But it's just not so in a diesel car. You switch it off, the entire car, properly gives a jerk and then stops. It's like, and then stops. It tells you that I stopped. Okay? That is the amount of vibration that the diesel engine will induce. And because of that, the diesel engine usually goes into more amount of maintenance. Okay. Since it doesn't have a spark plug, it has something called as a fuel injector. That's a very highly complex mechanism in the entire diesel engine. It's a wonderful piece of mechanism, and that diesel injector usually used to give away, okay, back in the days, while ambassadors and the old Mahindra MM540s and all that. So that was the criteria. Petrol engines were the ones who are more luxurious, who can spend a little 15 rupees more per liter for their travel, and on the other hand, petrol engine is easy on the pocket. Well, for maintenance, it's less maintenance heavy on you. But nowadays, if you ask today, there is absolutely no difference between a diesel and a petrol car. If you are going for a small car or any of the smaller sedans like Honda City or Fords and all that, petrol engine is sufficient.
So sufficient in the sense, in what sense you are telling sufficient?
And you would need a diesel engine if you're going for a heavier car, like Safari or a Sumo kind of sizes, or a Innova kind of a size, Xylo kind of a size.
Any SUV will need diesel engine. Is that what you are
Again, I'll not say SUV. I'm talking about MUVs, actually, multi-utility vehicles. Which if you have a big family, your everyday travel will be like 7 people. And every time you take your vehicle out, will be 5 to 7 people. So your car that you're normally using is kind of a Hexa, Innova, Ertiga, or an Endeavor, Fortuner. When you go on for these bigger cars, diesel engine is needed because that gives a little more power and a lot of ease. There is absolutely no need for going for a diesel engine for a Swift kind of no. But people used to go for it because there was a huge subsidy on fuel about 10 years ago. Not anymore.
But in terms of maintenance, it's like both same now, or is it?
Now, yeah, maintenance of both are the same. There was a time when you have to switch on, even crank the diesel engine. You crank it first. I mean, okay, you don't crank it. You just switch on the engine and wait for the amp meter to go up. You see this? And then there used to be a coil symbol on the MM540 that used to glow. Okay, that means it is heating the engine. Then it goes off. After that, you used to crank. That was the kind of technology we were dealing with even like 15 years ago. Not anymore. I get into my Jeep and just crank. That's it. It starts.
So now the criteria is how much power you need.
Yeah.
Is that the right?
Yes, yes. Because now it's all not the older technology. Now we have CRDI, Common Rail Direct Injection technology. It's like the MPFI for petrol engines. So when these came in, a lot of vibration and all got reduced. So it's as good as petrol cars now.
Okay.
So maybe not a valid question for this program. What happens to engines once you're done with the car? Like, so they say that after 14 years, you need to get a fitness certificate and only then you can drive the car again, right? So let's say I have a 25-year-old car and I'm saying, okay, I'm done with this. I'm not going to use it anymore. So now what happens to that?
It goes to scrap. But anyway, just a heads up, the meeting can end anytime. Okay, we can, if you want, you can log back. Yeah, it just goes for a scrap. That's it.
Interesting.
Mostly JC Road in Bangalore.
Wow, that's a lot of scrap.
Oh yes, there is a lot of scrap. In fact,
so do they ever do they ever let's say melt all of the metal and then make it new metal?
That also happens. Scrap is all that. Whoever wants to use it in whatever way, any which way they would use it.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. So good. Are we all good for the day?
One question I forgot.
Yes. Oh, you forgot, is it?
Yeah, just lost it.
I think my question took too long.
Yeah, probably helping you.
Yeah. Sure. I mean, overall, all this thing, whatever we have been speaking, we are only just, scratching the surface of the entire, automobile industry. There is just too much of it. We have not gotten to any of the
Yeah, now I remember.
Ah.
I remembered before I forget. So, whenever we do service, right, for any vehicle, even car or bike, you mentioned like they are supposed to remove this oil and replace or so many things, right?
Yeah.
But outwardly we never know, right? How do we know? Is it by experience we know, or is it how will you validate that they have done all that or not?
Every time, the first time I take the car out of the service station, I'll get to know whether the engine oil at least has changed or not. You will clearly feel a difference in your, overall vibrations in the car. This I have always, observed this. Okay. And if you don't trust whether they are doing it or not, you can stand by there and see that whether have they done it or not. And that is allowed. And you can actually check with the, the service manager that you are standing there till they do it, and then you can leave. And if they are not allowing, you can say that I'm taking my car out. That's fair, actually. I used to do that for my Maruti 800 times, because that was a time people used to do a lot of gimmicks in the service center, but not anymore.
And is mileage wise any differences between diesel and petrol cars? Is there?
Not at all. Surprisingly not. Nowadays,
Okay.
I mean, of course, you cannot compete with some of the very high mileage cars. Sometimes these cars are giving 22 and all, the petrol engines. Diesel engines come as good as 14 to 16 nowadays. You can make it up with the difference between even the petrol diesel price, like 85 versus 100. You still have the 15 rupees. Earlier, it used to be like 25 to 30 rupees.
Yeah. If we continue our sessions for 2 more weeks, it will probably be 100 and 125.
Yeah.
Prices are going up.
That is right.
So the advice on the street is to go. So it says less than a minute. So I think we'll stop.
All right.
Okay.
Yeah. Chalo.
All right.
Yeah.
Next
Talk
week.
to you next
Are we
week.
doing this next week or this was the
About
last?
some of the car stories, the history of the car brands next time.
Yeah.
All right.
Chalo. Good night. Bye bye.